Guys, I keep telling you, I am up-leveling my game when it comes to this podcast. I am bringing the absolute heat by bringing and booking the best guests that you could possibly ever imagine. People that are out there making a difference in the world, people that are shining a light on incredible things that we need to know about, creatives, entrepreneurs, and people that are just all around good people. And today's guest, Sophie Mazzaro, is one of those people. She ticks all the boxes. She has brain, she has beauty, and she is one of the most creative and talented artists on the planet today. And I'm so grateful that she agreed to be a part of the Ripple Effect podcast. First met Sophie, or was aware of Sophie, because she stayed at a friend of mine's house as an exchange student many, many years ago. She's from Germany, came to Austin, and my friend CJ Romberger told me, watch this girl. She is going places. And boy, I've watched her and she has gone some places. She is breaking barriers. She is knocking down doors and she is kicking ass and taking names. Sophie is an incredible artist. She is known for an incredible mural that she did in Venice Beach, California, to memorialize Kobe Bryant after his passing. She has customized some of the most expensive Nike sneakers you could imagine and made them 10 times more valuable with her art. And she is just an incredible visionary and artist in her own right. The paintings she does, oh, they are amazing. I wish that I could have acquired one of these early days because now I can't even afford her work, but she is in demand in such a big, big way. She is not only talented, but she is a smart, creative business person and a hell of an entrepreneur. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her. So with no further ado, let's dive into this interview with Sophie Mazzaro right now. Sophie, welcome to the Ripple Effect podcast. I am super excited for this interview. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful, Steve. I can't believe it took almost 2 decades for us to get back together from the first time we met.
Well, I am, hey, you're worth the wait. Let me just tell you, I am so grateful for this. I mean, you've been a little busy since the last time we ever talked. I mean,
Yeah.
you've changed states. You're like this internationally renowned artist now. You're in demand in every level. I mean, it's incredible, but I am just so grateful that you made the time. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, just to kind of dive in right off the bat, is because I have really, really respected how you've become such an amazing, not only artist and creative, but an entrepreneur, and just how you have dictated how you wanted your career to unfold exactly the way you wanted it to. How is it that you are doing so many amazing things and making it look so damn easy?
I think it's called ADHD, Steve. It's
Fair
not
enough. I
all
like it.
voluntarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think being an artist, I do think there's those two types of people, the ones that see the world in an artistic way and in color palettes and like contrasts and how artists see the world, and then
Yep.
the other people that have the IT side and the more logical, like my parents, weirdly, they're all in IT.
Oh, really?
But yeah, so I'm the only one that went the complete opposite way. But it's just I've gotten so much criticism for it, but on the other hand, I wouldn't do it any other way because I love and need all those outlets. I
Yeah.
went to school, I was a theater kid and I went to school for acting and stunts. That was my original major. And then I just kind of left that industry over how toxic it was in
Yeah.
LA. I just didn't like that somebody else gets to dictate if you're gonna be someone, or if
Yeah.
you're gonna be successful in cast. Oh, but you don't have the same last name as one of the casting directors, or you're not willing to do any favors. Like my
Yeah.
morals never changed living
Yeah.
in LA. I'm still the same German girl, I think, just a little tougher after 14 years in LA. But I was just never ready to compromise any of my morals
Good for
to be
you.
successful in that. And then I just thought, being an artist, which is something I've done since I was 6 years old, like I've always drawn.
Yep.
And that's something where no one can tell me that's not good enough, where
Yep.
no one else gets to say, no, like you won't be in this project because you get to decide that yourself. And I just kind of started doing more of those, and I got thrown into a project called Graffiti Mansion, which
Ooh,
this crazy millionaire in Las Vegas flew in 8 artists from all over the world, and we painted his gigantic mansion in 2.5 weeks, 22-hour days. I'm not joking, like two
wow.
hours of sleep, 30,000 cans of spray paint. And in the beginning, I was so typical German. I was like, hey, I've never done anything on this scale. Like, I don't know. Americans will always say, like, yes, I'm in, even if they don't have the experience.
Didn't know
And the
that.
German in me is like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah,
But he said he's seen my work and he thinks I'm capable of doing this and flew me in. And
that's awesome.
that was the beginning of doing murals because I was just like, I guess I can do this.
I
And
I love that. And did was he doing that for like a reality show or just because?
I think he's just an eccentric millionaire who, yeah, wanted
Well, you
to
you
do
got to
it.
have a few of those in your network. I mean, it's not a bad, not a bad person to know, right?
No, it's not. And even though the project itself, it was hell. It was Las Vegas in the summer. It was
Oh,
120 degrees, probably 130 on the roof. Like
oh,
we were all, a couple of us went to the hospital for heat
wow.
stroke or inhaling fumes and stuff like that. It was exhausting,
Yeah.
but I'm still friends with like especially one of the other artist girls. She flew in from Australia and we're
Wow.
still friends to this day and we're kind of on a similar journey that we took on murals, painting, tattooing. So that's kind of nice to still have these connections of like-minded people.
That's awesome. Well, and I mentioned in your intro, I mean, you did that amazing memorialization to Kobe Bryant on the Venice Beach Pier, right?
Yes.
How did that come about? Was that a commissioned opportunity or was that something, the city engaged you on, or how did that come about?
I did that for free for the community. I paid for my own paint and I
Wow.
was just very determined. I lived in Marina del Rey, which is right borders Venice at the
Yep.
time, and I knew the area really well. And I had a close friend that was close friends with the Kobe family, and he
Oh,
was really devastated. So it was kind of more for him
yeah.
at first to find a way. I'm like, I don't really know the right words to say or
Yep.
anything. So I just wanted to express it in the best way that I knew, which was a mural. And I'm
Yep.
like, I need a wall for this. So I didn't want to do this in the middle of the night, like a graffiti
Yeah.
illegal type of thing. I just wanted to get permission and take my time. And I just approached the Venice Whaler, which is that restaurant, and
Yeah.
told them what I wanted to do. And they actually allowed me to do it because that's normally an advertising wall and
Sure.
someone pays them like 10 to 30 grand a month to
Oh
advertise
my
on
God.
there, and they just let me do that mural.
That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely include a screenshot for the YouTube folks that'll see it. But you did an amazing job, and I obviously have followed your work for a long time. To kind of go all the way back, how you and I first connected is your host family you stayed with. CJ Romberger is a good friend of mine, and
Yeah.
I was saying in your introduction that she had told me literally, I think 2 days after you arrived, this girl has something special that you are going to, make a mark in the world. And boy, was she right. I mean, you just like, I mean, the world basically bows to you now. I think it's so incredible. But when you first came, so you were an exchange student from Germany. Where did you grow up in Germany?
I grew up in Berlin. I
Okay.
was born and raised in Berlin, and I weirdly always wanted to leave Germany. That
Okay.
sounds really harsh, but I just already knew as a kid this is not where I want to grow up. Coming to Austin wasn't my first time in America. My parents had taken me to Florida when I was a
Oh,
little kid, and I
yeah.
was probably like 8 years old. And I just remember standing in the first grocery store there,
Uh-huh.
looking at the cereal aisles, and like all the beach and big pools going on. Nobody in Germany had a pool, and the
Yeah.
big cars, and I was like, I want to live here.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah. So it's partly my parents' fault probably for introducing me so early. But then in school, I was just tired. It's always cold. Like the weather is so bad in Germany. That was probably one of the biggest factors. Just waking up and it's dark,
Mhm.
going to school. Like, right, I rode my bike to school in on ice and snow,
Ooh.
coming home when it's dark. Then somebody forgot to heat the school over winter break, so you take
Uh,
an exam and gloves on. I'm like, no, I want to go somewhere else. And then we found this exchange program, and you don't get to pick where you go.
okay, I didn't know
You
that.
get to pick a region.
Yeah,
And me and my dad looked at his gigantic atlas, and we're like, "Oh, Texas is really big. You should go there."
yeah,
That's how it came to be. And then I was originally going to be placed in Round Rock, and
okay.
the family fell through. So
Oh,
I had a
okay, I kinda
ticket
remember that, yeah.
booked. Yeah, I was 16. I had my ticket booked. I, didn't speak English that well. And then a couple of days before I'm leaving, my family falls through.
Oh,
And then CJ found me because
y
somebody had put my application in Zach Scott Theater because they
yes,
knew I
yeah.
loved theater. And CJ saw it, and for some reason, like, came home to West and was like, "We're getting an exchange student."
And the rest is history, right?
The
Yeah.
rest is history. I mean, I see them. I just talked to West yesterday. I talked to CJ
Oh,
probably the day before.
yeah,
We went on vacation together last year in Wyoming. We went to Yellowstone. So they're still very much part of my life, and
I
I'm part
love
of
that.
theirs. Yeah.
Yeah, very good people, and, in such an amazing way that all worked out, right? You talk about all
Yeah.
the way the ripple kind of unfolds. That's a perfect example that things work out exactly the way they're supposed to. When you graduated, did you go back to Germany, or did you stay and just knew you were heading to LA at that point?
I did go back to Germany to graduate because it was just a deal I had made with my parents because I
Yeah.
was a straight A student, especially in Germany. So they had actually let me skip a grade in Germany because I was studying while I was in Dripping Springs. I studied for my German school and then graduated early and just had that German diploma just
Yep.
because it counts more, and in case I wanted to have a safety net in
Sure,
case
of
something
course.
fails. And then right after I graduated, I got into the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute,
Wow.
which CJ also encouraged me to do. I mean, they've
Yep.
just been such a huge part of these choices and supporting me. And then I moved to LA at 19, and I had been there ever since, except
Wow.
now I'm in Wyoming.
Now you're in Wyoming. I love that. So when you went to LA, obviously you were thinking, breaking into show business, maybe moving that direction with your career. Was art sort of always kind of your second passion, or was it always like I'll do, acting or get into that industry to do it, but really my true passion is always, following my creative spirit in terms of artistic expression?
It was always there.
Okay.
And I remember even one of the teachers kind of gave me a hard time about it and told me, "You're gonna have to choose." And that's just something I've heard my whole life. Like,
Sure.
you're gonna have to make a choice. But it's not that easy. You can't stop having a creative outlet just because you should be more focused on one. Yeah, is it better to just pour all your energy into one thing? Probably yes. But I just love these other avenues just as much, and they're a part of me. I can't just stop doing it. And
Sure.
I always got I loved writing scenes. I would and write comedy scenes or something on the side too while I was in school, and I would always draw when I got home if I wasn't completely exhausted because yeah, school kicked my ass.
How was it that, you knew, you said you've been doing, art since you were 6. How was it that you knew that you actually had some talent that you could actually pursue that as kind of a, "Hey, this could be it. This is my direction in my career." How did that come about?
I don't know if I ever thought I have talent, or I don't know if I ever believed, oh, you just have talent, because I think talent is a weird way of describing something, because
Yeah.
I do know people now that are some of the absolute best in the world at what they do, even some tattooers, and it's weird to tell them you're so talented
Yeah.
because it's we've put in these more than hundred thousands of hours of just not giving up, not giving up, not giving up. So it's more, I think, a personality trait than just telling someone you're talented.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if you wanna be anything and you put enough time into it, you can probably be whatever it is you want to do.
Well, along that lines, I am curious because you are such an incredible artist for someone who is not, but would love to figure that out. How for people that don't consider themselves very creative, what do you suggest? Because I think everybody wants to express themselves somehow, right? Whether it's painting, it's drawing, it's sculpting, or even putting together musical jams or whatever, right? There's all these different potential outlets, and I think most people stop because I love how you frame the word talent, because I think that we think because we don't recognize that we have that innate ability, we don't think we're talented, so we never start, right? So any suggestions or ideas, because I know a lot of people on this podcast, they're always looking for that, right? They're looking for that next level and need that little bit of encouragement to just start and try something. So I'm curious what your feedback would be about that.
First of all, I think I have no musical talent, and that's a totally false statement because I've
Yeah,
never really tried. I think
that
if
I love
I
that.
just it's a perception about me
Yep,
that I have, but I have never I've just not been interested in it. And then the second thing is you gotta actually do it. Do the thing. And I'm guilty of this myself because with social media, coming around, we get bombarded with these people that we think are just the absolute best, and
yep,
people who wake up and they dress up really nice and then they paint these masterpieces and it sells immediately.
yep.
And then I'm like, well, I don't even need to try. Like, they're
Yeah,
already
I'll
doing
never
that.
get there.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'll never get there. It's actually like, I think it's very discouraging, even
yes,
as an artist who's selling stuff. I get caught in that trap sometimes too, and I've had many, many like months in my life where I didn't create at all and I was in a total slump, and or I would just plan stuff out in my head instead of actually taking pen to paper.
yeah,
So that was one of the biggest things I learned is you have to actually do the thing on
yeah.
paper or on canvas. And sometimes I go outside with my canvas and I don't plan anything and I just splash paint around on it, and then
Wow.
I can, if I hate it, I can paint over it later, but at least I'm having fun again creating, because a lot of my jobs were for companies too, where maybe you
Mhm.
paint something that you don't love 100%. There's always that painting for what you really love and like, and then other people might not appreciate, and then painting something that's only for a client and you don't really like it. So finding that middle ground, a little bit for them and a little bit for you, but just having fun with it again.
How was it that you were able to strike that balance though between what they wanted and what you wanted, and still come into a project and feel good about the outcome?
Sometimes I can just convince people something will look better if I want it. Like, I love painting palm leaves, for example, for big murals. I always think it looks good, like, you can
Yeah.
make it look good in any color scheme, so I just kind of sway their opinion towards something that I really wanna do. And then I mean, it's really, I haven't had that many projects where I dreaded it. That's not true, because then
Mm.
I don't even take it on. If it's
Yeah.
something that I'm just not going to enjoy, then what's the point? I can refer another artist that maybe that's their specialty. So,
Yeah, I love that. Well, and you took this medium beyond murals, obviously, onto the canvas, but then you also have done incredible job on sneakers. Like, tell me about that. I mean, that I swear to God, I was like thinking about this the other day when I was kind of writing some notes for preparation for today, and I was like, gosh, I wish I had bought one of your pieces like early on. Now I couldn't possibly afford it, but I just love every freaking thing you do. But the sneakers, I've shared a number of the images that you've shared on social media with my network, because you just do such an incredible job. How did that come about? And was that just an area you decided, hey, let's try it? It's just a different form of a canvas, or
no, the story is kind of funny because it originally started in Germany because
okay,
I had saved up all my pocket money. I was maybe 14 or 15, so I was still in high school, and I bought a pair of Nike Blazers
okay,
shoes. And like Germany is always behind in what the US is doing. So it was very expensive for me. And then I get these shoes, and a girl in my school has the same pair. And then I looked at the amount of money it would cost for me to ship them back and like return them for something else. So I decided to paint on mine instead to make them different, because I've always hated wearing what other people are wearing. Like everybody has these uniforms and the same H&M
Yep.
clothes and the same shoes, and I've always hated that. So I
Yep.
just painted on mine, and someone bought them from me in school. And then I rode my bike home on socks.
Oh, no.
And I was like, fine, I made my money back. I don't need to
Yep.
send them back. I'm gonna turn up the brightness. Okay.
Oh, that's
And then
awesome.
I don't know, in Texas I had painted shoes that I wore to school just for fun. CJ and West always encouraged it. My art teacher in Dripping Springs encouraged it. We
Yeah.
still talk, and he follows my journey. Like, it's just funny how this, like you said, it's a ripple effect of just these random connections.
Yep.
Somehow we got connected, somehow we're still connected. I was even a bridesmaid in some of my classmates' weddings in Austin.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And are you still doing the sneakers, or is that like you kind of moved on from that, or
So I only kind of moved on from the sneakers because I wasn't charging what they're worth.
yeah.
That was honestly on me. So I got bummed out on, I did a ton of them. I
Okay.
probably did like 100 pairs or something. And
Wow.
I got a lot of, I had big clients like Clayton Kershaw from the Dodgers. Like, that was one
Wow.
of the highlights of my career, when when you get a call from Clayton's wife and she's like, "Hey, can you make us the shoes
Yeah.
for Clayton's for the gala?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Yeah, sure. Like, why not?
That was the ultimate, full circle when you're an LA resident and you get to do something for the Dodgers
Oh,
gala.
yeah.
Um, I will still do them, if especially if I have existing clients that I treasure, and I always, I treat every client, whether that is a Clayton Kershaw or just a a normal person, I treat them all the same because they all support my art business the same. So one is not more important than the other.
I
And
love
if they
that.
request something, so like one lady, she wanted to take her kids on the Taylor Swift tour,
Mhm.
and I was on vacation, and I told her, "Yeah, this is really cute." And she's like, "My daughters are dying to have these shoes." So, of course, I made them for her. But it's more on request now with people who know that I do them. If you followed me long enough to know about the sneaker face,
Yep.
then yes, you deserve to have some made.
I just gotta save up some pennies first. I got yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure I can afford your going rates, but I mean, your work is incredible. I mean, I love how you did it. I mean, I think one time I saw one of the videos where you kind of did the time lapse of one of the pairs that you were working on, and I just loved watching the process sort of unfold in your mind as to what you were going to do and how you're going to do it. Did when you attack something like that type of project, is it very much like walking outside and looking at the canvas and splashing some paint around and seeing where it goes? Or in most of those cases, do you already have a game plan in your mind about what you want to put? Because there, I would think in the sneaker realm, there's not a lot of margin for error in terms of those types of projects.
I only recently, as in 2 months ago, started having a game plan for canvases. For example, where I talked to another artist and she was like, "Yeah, what's your painting process?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I just start putting paint on it and then see what happens. And she's like, "Oh no." So with sneakers, I never had a plan. I would just start. I mean, I knew the theme always, but then I would just start with the front or somewhere and then kind of piece it together from there.
That's awesome. I
People
love that.
have put an enormous amount of trust in me and knowing it's going to turn out, because I'm really not someone that does these elaborate sketches up front and gives
Yeah.
them mock-ups. I'm like, "You want Batman shoes? Okay." Just trust me, it's going to be good, but I don't really feel like making a mock-up.
Because that's like doing it twice, right? I don't want
Yeah.
to do that. I
Yeah, I
love
don't
that.
know.
Like, just trust me. They're going to be
Just
awesome.
trust me. Well, that's That's the same with commissions too. If I have to over explain, because right now I'm really into the wildlife and
Yep.
doing, more Wyoming themed and Rockies, animals that live in the Rockies. If I
Yep.
have to over explain to you what it's gonna look like and the colors, then I'm probably not the artist for you,
Yeah.
because either you like my style and trust me that I can do this, but if someone's already picking it apart before, then that's just not a good fit.
I'm putting your website up because I think the work, I want everybody that sees it, or sees the video to actually go to the website. And obviously for those of you that are hearing this on the actual audio platforms, I encourage you to go to the YouTube channel and get this, because you've got to see Sophie's work. It's absolutely incredible. And especially with this new direction you're headed, there's just such a cool, really funky vibe about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And you just do such an amazing job. Is the process that you go through when you are starting, and now that this is fairly new, like 2 months old, right? Is it, when you plan this out, is it a situation where you kind of have an inkling of where you want to go, or do you let your, I've always been curious because I'm not a painter, right? But do you kind of sketch out what you're doing, or is it literally you're putting paint up there and you're figuring it out as you go? I'm curious about that creative aspect of the process.
Yeah, it used to be like that. I would
Okay.
literally just start putting paint up there. And then I actually took that criticism to heart from some of these other artists, who pointed out that it would just streamline the process a little bit more if I
Yeah.
planned a little bit more. And so, what it has helped me is put the painting together faster, if that makes sense, because I don't
Okay.
have to second guess, oh, what's the next step? Like, what am I going to put as a background? Because now I already have that planned out. And I usually use my iPad,
Uh-huh.
because it's great. The app Procreate is amazing for just kind of sketching something out, and then you can see, do these colors go together? Does the background
Ah,
work
okay.
with this? So it's kind of like a mock-up a little bit. Not too, I don't spend too much time on it. Maybe like 10 to 30 minutes. That's it. And then I usually put a a background in, and I'm making those. I don't like painting backgrounds, so I just
Really?
changed it to something, yeah, and I don't, you don't have to paint what you don't like. Like,
That
I think most people think they have to be good at everything, or they get so intimidated by art and other artists on social media, but like, you can literally just paint whatever you want. It doesn't have to make sense. You can
yeah,
paint an orange elephant for all you care, as long as you have fun doing it.
yeah. I mean, that's I think that's a really good piece of advice right there, right? And 9 times out of 10, you're even though you might be doing it for commission or maybe doing it for a client eventually to sell it or whatever, it has to start from, that heart center component, right? It has to come from within. Otherwise, you're just going through the motions, and it'll feel like that when you actually see the finished work. I think with yours, there's not one thing that I have seen that you've done that doesn't instantly make me smile or make me happy, which I think is just such an incredible talent that you have. So,
Thank
and
you.
such a gift. I mean, just such an amazing ability for you to do what you've done, and the diversity of the approach that you take, I think, is phenomenal. Are you always constantly challenging yourself to like in Wyoming now you're doing wildlife and you're being inspired by that general area? Do you feel like your career has gone through different phases where you really kind of throw into a certain, kind of genre, or could you be painting a bear today and then painting something vastly different tomorrow, and that's just the way your process works, or how does that come
Yes,
about?
I
Okay.
absolutely think so. I think
Mhm.
almost every artist goes through those phases. And, I had phases in LA where I did only murals and, well, I don't know, maybe a few shoes on the side. Then I did the shoes exclusively for maybe 2 years and had some bigger deals. But also, COVID affected my business just like any other
Yeah.
person. And it was really devastating in LA, because within 2 weeks, from March 1st to 14th, I lost 90% of my work.
Wow.
And I was in a car accident March 1st, like the 2 weeks. I don't know when COVID
Literally
was
2
declared,
weeks
but
before
right,
the pandemic
literally two
lockdown,
weeks.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I got really severely injured. So that was just a phase where I was unable to lift my arms. I didn't know it was if I was going to paint again. I definitely couldn't do murals because I was too immobile. I was on
Oh,
the couch for like 3 months in severe
Wow.
pain. I had a brain aneurysm. And then I had to shift because, first of all, I had to make rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not get any of the assistance that so quickly ran out in
Yeah.
California,
Yeah.
but I started sewing masks for people like that wanted custom, just personalized ones.
Yeah.
People were tired of wearing the same surgical mask that
Yep.
everybody had, and they just wanted to have a little fun in hard times. So I started making those from home and made that a booming business, and then burnt out really quick after like 2 or 3 months of 15-hour days. So I'm like, I
Yeah,
can't do
I
this.
saw that in one of your articles, like, you didn't expect it to take off like it did, and then, it's like next thing
No.
you know, it's like 15-hour days doing custom masks.
Yeah, I was like at the post office 7 times a day. They knew me by name. I'm like,
Sophie's
maybe I
back.
should scale back. So it always shifts, and I think you have to adapt, and you can't be super like I only want to do this and I only
Sure.
want to do it this way, because with the way technology is going too, you have to kind of adapt and go with it, unfortunately. And I say that as someone who really, I've never fully embraced social media for what it is, because I've always seen those darker sides
Yeah,
of it can really harm creativity, and you just end up comparing yourselves to all these other people and you don't even know if their life is real. Like,
that's right.
God forbid the stories that I know about LA, about these influencers that have a team of makeup artists flown in and get ready and stage their photos at breakfast and then go back to bed because they're depressed for the rest
Yeah.
of the day and everybody thinks their life is amazing.
Yep.
So that's the other very dangerous side of it. But you got to embrace it to a certain point and just put yourself out there, because no one's going to like your art if nobody can see it.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
so
true.
many amazing artists and tattooers and writers and creative people that will never get seen because they're maybe embarrassed in front of the camera or worry about what other people might say, but you have to put it out there.
Yeah. I've sort of adopted a philosophy over the last couple of years, because I was one that would not do it unless I knew I could do it perfectly, or always did it, and then I sat back and I worried about, judgment or what people would think, and always worried about the opinions of others. And uh, age and experience, I think, does drive a little bit of wisdom. And one of the things that a good friend of mine, shared with me many years ago, which is somebody else's opinion of you is none of your business, right? And when you sort of get to that point, you feel like kind of very free, and it does open up like the possibility of, the endless possibilities of where you could take your career, could take your creative work or your writing or whatever. Much like this podcast, like when I first started off the podcast, I really, I thought maybe other than my dad, I probably wouldn't have any listeners. and so, and dropped a few F bombs in those early episodes, and then he stopped being a listener. So I wasn't even sure I was going to
Oh
have
no.
any. But at the end of the day, what I really love about what we're doing with this show is getting to feature people like you who are out there just, not giving a crap about what everybody else thinks. They're just doing, and they're creating, and they're building, and they're growing, and because of that, you're actually creating your own amazing ripples, because you are inspiring people to think differently, and get outside of their comfort zone, and get out of their own way and start doing things. And I love that. But I also love that you put that disclaimer about social media, because it's so true, and not people don't know that, right? And I think there is this tendency to be like, I could never be that talented, or I could never do what this person's doing. And you don't know the story or the background about what they're doing. Like you said, great photo shoot, and then I'm going back to the corner because I'm like depressed because I really don't have the life I'm proposing to the world
Yeah.
to see.
Well, first of all, regarding the opinions of others, I also think most people are way too busy with their own life to truly worry about someone else all the time. Like, we
True.
always are way more concerned than what people actually
That's
think of you.
absolutely
Like,
accurate. Yep.
everyone is preoccupied with themselves. And then on social media, yes, I think a lot of us actually do know, if we really think about it, we do know some of that is fake, but I even catch myself doing this too when I just look at someone and Oh my for a second, oh, I wish I had their life or
Yeah.
something. I wanna be in Greece right now, sitting on the beach drinking margaritas. That sounds great, but yeah, you don't know about their relationships in real life. You don't know who's funding all of this. Like, it can be expensive. Some people have a team running this. Like,
Yeah.
I know of artists where it looks like, "Oh, I'm this one person show," and they literally have a team of people doing everything from them because being an artist is a full-time job, and that you have to create the artwork, you have to come up with
Yeah.
the ideas, you have to execute, actually make the painting, you have to photograph it, you have to archive it, you have to have it all organized if you ever want to make prints, you have to ship the physical product, get it packaged correctly, like it has to be safe for transport, deal with the tariffs of other countries, with the
Yeah.
shipping, invoices, social media, make videos about it. It's so many full-time jobs, and we do burn out. I burn out on it. I mean, of course, it's more fun if you're doing something that you actually love and that is your passion. Like, could I do this for someone else's passion? Absolutely not. I would quit after 3 days. But even for myself, sometimes, like, I'm my own boss, and sometimes my boss runs a little loose ship here where I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's nice out today. Like, I would rather sit outside too than finish this painting. But
Yeah. But I love that because I mean that's the realistic aspect of what you're dealing with. I think most people think of artists like, oh, you're just in the studio and you're creating, and then just magically people beat a path to your door and pay you all this money, and life is just grand. But
yeah.
there's so much that goes on behind the scenes just to support what you're actually doing, right?
Yeah. And there's also absolutely no shame in having another job. I feel like we have this weird romanticized version that social media is also responsible for,
Yep.
which is it has to be a full-time job. No,
Yep.
it doesn't. If you want to work at the post office to support your artistic journey, then go do that, because do whatever helps you and enables you in this economy to
Yeah.
paint and still have that. That's still better than not painting at all and just being in a job where you're miserable.
I
But
love that.
we
I often tell a lot of the entrepreneurs, or sometimes we call them wantrepreneurs, people that have vision and ideas, but have, not necessarily taken the step forward to actually go out and do it, that they can actually look at their full-time job or whatever they're doing to support themselves and eventually sort of capitalize what they want to work on, whether that's a tech idea, whether they want to become an artist, they want to write a book, get a movie made, whatever. All of that is actually just, that's just your investment capital. That's your seed capital. You're investing in yourself by, going out and getting those opportunities to fund, like you said, whatever it is, right? Paint, your canvases, the ability for you to do the work has to come from somewhere because the money just doesn't
uh,
fall from the sky.
art is really expensive. Like
It
we
is.
just went to the art store a couple days ago, and I think we bought like 5 brushes and 3 paints, and it was like $270. So the people that complain about how expensive art is have no idea.
Yeah,
It's not a cheap hobby that you do on the side. If you want quality paints and quality canvas, it costs a lot of money.
it
And
does.
so if you need a second job, or just a job that's not for yourself where you get an actual paycheck, of course do that. I mean, I kind of have tattooing on the side. I just right now I fortunately sold a lot of the paintings with the wildlife, so I'm busy
Mhm.
doing that, but after that I'm going back to the tattoo studio as well because it's just more stable
Yeah.
on a daily basis, and it's still art, it's still creative.
Yeah,
So if
of
you can
course.
find something that's maybe even in those lines, if you want to be a musician and you can work on the side, like in I don't know, in a record shop or somewhere
Yeah,
to make a little bit extra income, do that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, part of those jobs can actually help you sharpen the saw for the main gig, right? The main thing you wanna do, and that's what I would envision, when you're doing tattooing is you're getting an opportunity to play, it's just a different canvas, and,
Yeah.
something you do for a client could inspire the next great idea that you wanna do for your large painting.
But also you create work under less stress if you have money coming in from
Yeah,
somewhere else. I
yeah,
think that's one of the biggest things too. We get like That's where the real starving artist metaphor comes in. When you just don't have rent money and you're just desperate to sell something, then it usually doesn't work that well.
Right.
But when you're good, like your rent is paid and you have money, then you can create truly from being content and not under the stress of, oh, I need to make X amount.
Yeah. Like you said, it never seems to work out when you have that stress and pressure, but,
Yeah.
it just it whatever it is, just never seems to pay off quite as well. So, creating that
I
environment
always had side jobs
Yeah,
in LA.
no
I worked
kidding.
in events for years, yeah, but I also enjoyed it a little bit because it was funny being in the world of the rich and famous and like look behind the curtains.
Well, and to a degree, like some of what I talk about, right? That helped you build some probably beneficial connections. So when you did bring your work out, you actually had folks that knew you and saw what you were doing, and there was a natural interest in potentially a future customer. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. So, one question, how have your folks handled everything that you've done with your career over here, and how often do you see them?
I've put them through a lot, my poor parents. But that's what
They
you
did not
get for
pay me to
having.
ask that question, by the way. I'm just saying.
No, they, signed up for it, then they decided to have a kid. I
Yeah.
mean, from sitting through my performances when I was in middle school, like, I would do reenactments with my stuffed animals in the audience, and I would perform sketches for them over and over and over. From sitting through that and sitting through boring theater performances, like 5 times the same play. No, they are very, very supportive. I'm
Yeah,
very lucky to have parents like that that always had my back, have never treated me like you should pick a real career because
yeah.
both of them are super high ups in the IT world. My dad was one of the top executives of IBM in Germany, and my
Wow.
mom my mom also started at IBM and then went and formed her own company and was is in the who's who Germany for IT specialists for data storage.
Wow.
But they've never pressured me. I've taken one course in IT, like fundamentals of IT, and I told my mom I wanted to die a slow death. I could do it. I got a straight A in the exam, and I'm like, I can do it, but I really don't want
Yeah,
to. And she's like, "Okay, like you tried." Um, and they are so supportive. They've come to a lot of my art shows.
that's
My
awesome.
mom was in LA when I painted the penthouse because I painted the tallest mural in America in the 72nd floor of the US Bank Tower in LA.
Really?
So my mom was there for the unveiling of that. That was super cool.
Wait, so, like, tell us about that project. Like, were you dangling off a building or something? Or, like
No, it was the inside.
okay. I was gonna say, I must have missed this. This is
Yeah. It was the inside. It was just LA local artists like paying tribute to LA, and I painted a beautiful like Mexican heritage mural,
Oh.
very vibrant with the Mexican flowers that were inspired by the tiles they have in
Oh.
Mexico and the colors. But that was one of my favorite projects. So they've been a part. I've taken my dad on mural jobs when I'm painting, or my mom. My mom helped me paint one where I was under a deadline, and I'm like, here, pick up some blue and fill this in real quick.
It
So
was a team
they're
effort.
very
It
yeah, they're actually both very creative too, even though they have that logical IT brain, like both of them are creative in their own way. And I build a lot of stuff with my dad. We love building stuff and fixing things, very German, around the house. And we're gonna build a fence probably next year. And
ah,
they love Wyoming. They're very happy. I think that's the best gift I could give them was get the hell out of LA because now they're not so worried about me
all the
every day.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm working on getting them. They just got approved for their green card, which is
Oh,
very
cool.
exciting. That
Yeah.
was like a 4 or 5 year endeavor, even
Oh,
though I'm a US citizen, it's just very difficult to get for them. But hopefully in the future they get to spend more time here as well.
do you ever see them living here once they retire, or is Germany still just a home for them?
I hope so. No, they
Yeah.
really like it here, especially Wyoming, because they say the same stuff. The people are super nice and friendly, and they're genuine. You can make genuine friendships. They get invited to more stuff than I do. My mom can go to Boot Barn and have 3 invites somewhere to parties or at local events. Like,
Oh,
they
that's
are both very sociable and just have way more of a social life than I do.
which is very ironic for IT people. That's like that, yeah,
Yeah.
that's not normal.
Well, my mom is also like I call her the Elle Woods of IT in her whole pink
Yep,
suits just dominating in a department full of men.
yep.
So
Oh, I love that. That's cool. That's really
yeah.
cool. I like that. Well, I could talk to you all day, and I would, we'll have to have you back because there's just so much that I think that our audience can learn and benefit from just being exposed to you. But one of the things that we do on this show is we try to wrap this up with a few Ripple connection questions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. So you're, I feel like we got a sense of kind of where you wanted to go as a kid, but if you weren't doing, let's say, anything from an artistic perspective, whether it was acting or writing, in that genre or art, what would you see yourself doing if it wasn't that?
This is really weird because it would probably be something polar opposite, like becoming an attorney.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And why would it be like that? Why an attorney? I mean, you're an
I'm
exceptionally
just
great communicator, so I could see that being really, really good.
just interested in the law and certain like how loopholes are written and just
Yeah.
yes how the law applies. I think I'm a very just person. I like to stand up for people who are wronged, so I don't know.
I love that. What do you think, aside from creativity, which is an obvious, option here, but what do you think your superpower is?
Oh. uh Languages and communicating.
Okay.
I speak 3 languages, and I've just always had a weird talent for understanding people that maybe don't speak a language and, like, communicating with hands and feet, and I somehow can figure out what they're looking for.
What are the three languages?
German, English, and French, and I'm learning
Okay, awesome.
Spanish. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. But I like that approach. Hands and feet, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what is one of the most favorite projects that you've worked on?
Almost all of them. That would
That's
be
a good
really
answer.
hard, and I would be discriminating. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, the bank tower was one of the best feelings, just being literally on top of LA and having helicopters fly by and wave at us as we were painting this
yeah.
mural, for the city that has given me everything and has given me these wonderful career opportunities and wonderful friends for life. So that was one of the best projects,
That
I think.
I love that. Who do you consider your creative influence?
Um, There's a lot of artists I look up to. Like, there are amazing Western painters. I've found a lot of them recently. But I've also learned a lot from my boyfriend, who's one of the top 10 tattooers in the top 10% of tattooers in the world. Like, he's
Wow.
incredible at what he does. And just his approach to that's where my telling people they're talented is not accurate because I see how hard he works at
Yeah,
improving just a
yeah.
little bit. And I don't think it has anything to do with talent and rather with just being hard on ourselves and being our own harshest critic and just trying to improve a little bit and pointing out little things that over time will make such a difference. And that's
I
really
love that.
helped improve my art too, even if we butt heads about our approach. Because my approach is throwing paint on canvas, and his is like, no, break it down. Like, make a sketch.
What's your boyfriend's name?
Mike,
Mike. I
yeah.
love that. Well, Mike's lucky to have a partner like you for sure. I'm sure you guys, even though you might butt heads, I'm sure
Yeah.
I could just imagine those conversations being like,
Never thought I wanted to date another artist. I'm like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, 2 of me? No, thank you.
two of me. That's awesome. Um, if you were to, if you thought about like a message or, a quote that you could put out there for everybody to see, whether it be on one of your paintings or you got an opportunity to put a billboard that everybody saw on the way to work or on the way to school and on the way home, what message would you like to convey?
I don't know if it's a snappy short quote that'll be memorable, but just please keep creating. The
Ah,
world needs it, and don't be discouraged by social media or by other people's success, and you just gotta be consistent over trying to be the best at something and being perfectionistic, but just get a little bit better and just stick with what you're doing. And CJ actually gave me this as a magnet when I lived with her at 16, and it said there were two different ones. One was do one thing a day that scares you.
mm-hmm.
And then the other one was it's hard to beat a person who never ever gives up.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And I love that magnet. And
Yeah.
I always have that in the back of my mind, even on hard days. I'll have to tell her that I still know, but just you'll just have to keep going, even
That's
if it
awesome.
sucks, even if you don't feel like it.
Well, I did not tell her that we finally connected to actually make this happen. So it's going to be a huge surprise to her, but she's going to appreciate the props for sure. I know that'll be awesome. Okay, last couple of questions. If you were going to, what would be the title to your Sophie's life story? If it was made into a book or a movie?
Well, I am writing a book, and this will be the first time
Ah,
announcing it,
all
actually.
right.
Yeah,
Sweet. We got an exclusive
nobody,
here. This is
you
awesome.
do. I have not told anybody except my editor, and it's called California Sober and Other LA Lies.
Ooh, I love that title.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
just
good.
it'll be a funny, satirical, very like self-depreciating humor type of memoir about the time as an immigrant living in LA, living and surviving LA, and just kind of a funny, more honest look behind the scenes versus everybody's polished life of how dirty and grimy it really is and how
Yeah.
unglamorous.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
and when do we expect the book to be out?
That's a good question because that's also one of those things that I've set on. I started writing that book 14 years ago,
Yep.
and then it really only was recently that one of my friends read a chapter and it started off as a journal and he was like, "This is really funny." I'm like, "Glad you find it funny. It's my life." Like I didn't think it was so funny back then. But he's like, "This would be a really good book." And I just started looking for editors and I found the perfect person on Fiverr that is just helping me kind of refine it, but we're working
Cool.
through it. We're about halfway through with the editing process.
Are you going to go through trying to go to a publisher? Are you going to self-publish or what's your plan?
Yes. I'm gonna try the publisher route just because I don't think like I don't if you don't have a huge audience by yourself, I think it's gonna be very hard um to kind of sell and get that out there. And I think it would be a good guide for people planning to move to Los Angeles or people who've lived there and even people who have nothing to do with LA and just know the stereotypes. I think they'll find it entertaining.
Yeah. Well, if I can be a resource for you in any capacity, I've been very fortunate to know some really good best-selling authors, and then yeah, so I mean, self-published. In fact, I had a great author that basically told me to stick with, the self-publishing route, and he gave me advice and guidance as to why and to do it. But if I can be a resource for you in any capacity, I'd be happy to do it. So
Yeah, I would love to connect with you about that whole process.
yeah, we'll do it for sure. Last two questions. When you hear the words "the ripple effect," what does that conjure up in your mind? What does it make you think of?
Serendipity of meeting certain people, like just very unplanned, but you think somehow something bigger has a plan for you to meet this person or that person, and then through them, like the what is it, sixth degree of separation,
Yep.
how you know everybody in the world. Yes. So
Oh,
just those lucky moments of connecting with certain people, and then you never know what that's going to bring you in the future.
well, I'm super grateful for that because I mean, that's how we ended up here today, right?
I
I
know.
mean, I think that's fantastic. If the last question I have for you is, what ripples can I be looking to create for you?
Well, the first ripple was being on this podcast after all those years. That's just a really, really funny coincidence. Um, and then I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting again when my book is done
Yeah.
to just get it out there in the world. Just one of those other things that I have wanted to do and that I can't just sit on for the rest of my life wondering, oh, what are people going to think? I just have
Yeah.
to put it out there.
It'll be awesome, and we'll help promote the hell out of it. I promise you, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Sophie, how do you want people to follow you? Obviously we put your website up. I'm going to put that up one more time just so people see it. But is there other ways that you want people to tune in and check out your work or follow you on social or YouTube or anything?
Yeah, I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. And on Instagram, that's Sophie Mazzaro Art. And on Facebook, I think it's just Sophie Mazzaro. That's
Okay.
always a good way. I do little snippets of behind the scenes or how I find where I find inspiration or motivation to create something. Like one of my paintings I made of a moose that I saw out of a U-Haul driving on the road. You never know where inspiration strikes you. And I never understand the people that are like, "Oh, I just don't understand where you get inspiration." And I'm just like everywhere. I can take
It's
out
like
the
everywhere.
trash and see a rabbit and paint that.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. And obviously that moose was a stuffed moose.
No, he was real.
Was it a live moose driving a truck, right?
It was a no, it was a live. I was driving the truck, not the moose.
Oh, okay. I thought you were riding down the road and you saw somebody drive by with a
No.
moose in there. It's like,
I
okay.
was driving to California with the U-Haul and back, and on my way back, as I was like utterly exhausted and had about 4 hours left in a 24-hour drive, I saw a gigantic moose drinking from a little spring on the side of the road. And
Oh,
yeah, I
is
painted
is
that.
that the inspiration for the one that's on your homepage currently?
Yes, yeah.
Oh man, it's amazing. I mean, that's really cool. I love that you shared that. Well, Sophie, thank you so much for the time today. I really, really appreciate it. I am a huge, huge fan. I'm so proud to know you and call you a friend. But most importantly, I'm just very, very inspired, as I know my audience will be as well, about what you're doing and how you're doing it, the approach that you take for getting your work out there and just being unapologetically you. And I just, my hat's off to you. It's just so amazing to see everywhere your career is taking you. And I'm just so, so thrilled that we could do this.
Thank you, Steve, so much, and I feel honored to have a friend like you, who's known me since I was 16 years old, basically, and has followed me through all the chaotic life phases that I have and career phases from Austin to LA to Wyoming. And we'll have to do this again because I feel like we could have a 7-hour podcast. Just
Absolutely. We will. And as you revealed, this is your first podcast. So I think
yeah,
I mean, I am truly, truly honored. So this is awesome.
yep, and
Well,
book reveal, both
yeah,
both
there.
with
Oh
you
man,
for the
yeah. I
first
mean, this
time.
is like
So
a double whammy. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Well, listen, guys, we'll be back for another episode of the Ripple Effect very soon. But until then, Sophie, ripple on.